Hello, everyone, and welcome back to EasyTalk English. No matter where you're listening from today, at home, on the bus, or during a short break at work, we're really happy you're here with us. This channel is all about simple, practical English you can really use in daily life.
Hi friends, welcome back. I'm feeling a little tired today, but in a good way, like after a busy morning. I think I might have a coffee soon, or maybe something small to eat.
Same here, actually. I'm starting to feel a bit hungry, and coffee sounds like a great idea. Maybe I'll have a snack later if I have time.
Wait a second. Did you notice what we just said? We said, have a coffee, have something to eat, and have a snack. We didn't plan that at all.
Exactly, and that's a perfect way to start today's topic. There's one very small word in English that we use all the time, often without thinking. That word is have.
Now let me ask you something. When you hear the word have, what do you think it means? Many learners immediately think, oh, have means to own something.
And you're not wrong. We do say things like, I have a car, or she has a phone. That meaning exists, and it's correct English.
But here's the important part. That meaning is only a very small part of how people actually use have in real life.
If you listen to native speakers carefully, you'll notice something interesting. They use have all the time, even when they're not talking about owning anything.
For example, we say, I have coffee in the morning, or let's have lunch together. We're not owning coffee or lunch, we're talking about a moment in our day.
Exactly. Or think about sentences like, we had a great time, or I'm having a busy day. You're not holding time or a day in your hands, you're experiencing it.
This is the key idea we want you to remember. In everyday English, have often connects you to an experience, not an object.
Yes, have is like a bridge between you and what's happening in your life. Food, meetings, trips, feelings, problems, good moments, bad moments, all of these use have.
That's why translating have word for word can be confusing. If you try to translate it as own every time, many sentences won't make sense.
And when sentences don't make sense, learners start to feel stressed. They think English is difficult, but actually the problem is translation, not English. So instead of translating, try to listen to the situation. Ask yourself, what is happening here? Am I talking about an object, or am I talking about life?
When people talk about daily life, experiences, or moments, have is often the natural choice.
That's why native speakers love this word. It's simple, flexible, and works in many situations without sounding formal or complicated.
So let's change the way we think about have. Don't think of it as a grammar rule, think of it as a life word.
When you hear have, don't translate it. Feel the situation, feel the experience, and let the meaning come naturally.
In the next part, we'll start with the easiest meaning of have, the one everyone knows, and then slowly move into how people really use it every day.
All right, now let's start with the meaning of have that almost everyone learns first. This is the meaning that makes learners feel comfortable and safe because it's simple and clear.
Yes, this is the meaning of possession. When we say have, we often mean that we own something or that something belongs to us.
For example, we say, I have a car, or she has a phone. These sentences are very common, very easy, and completely correct.
We also use have with things that are not physical objects, like time or money. For example, I don't have much time today, or they have enough money for the trip.
Family is another good example. We say, I have 2 brothers, or she has a big family. Again, very natural and very correct.
So, let's be very clear here. This meaning of have is not wrong. It's real English, and you definitely need it.
But here's the important question. Is this the meaning native speakers use the most when they talk every day?
Honestly, no. We use it, but not as much as learners often think.
In daily conversation, people talk more about their lives than their possessions. They talk about food, plans, problems, feelings, and experiences.
For example, think about a normal day. How often do you say, I have a car, compared to how often you say, I have lunch or I have a meeting?
Exactly. The possession meaning is like the foundation of a house. It's important, but you don't live only on the foundation.
You need walls, rooms, and windows too. And in English, those are the other meanings of have.
So if you only think of have as to own, you're stopping too early. You're missing a big part of real-life English.
The good news is that you already know how to use have. You just need to expand how you think about it.
In the next part, we'll move from possession to one of the most common and useful ways native speakers use the word have. And this one is about food and drink. This is something you hear every single day in real life.
Yes, and it's also one of the easiest ways to sound more natural in English. Instead of thinking about grammar, just listen to how people really talk.
For example, in the morning, people say, I'm going to have coffee, or I had coffee already. They don't usually say, I'm going to drink coffee in casual conversation.
Drink is correct, of course, but it sounds a bit direct and textbook. Have coffee sounds more relaxed and friendly.
The same thing happens with meals. We say, let's have lunch, or we had dinner together last night. It sounds warm and natural.
Yes, if you invite a friend, you don't say, let's eat lunch. You say, let's have lunch. It feels more social.
And this is the key idea here. When we use have with food and drink, we're not just talking about eating or drinking. We're talking about the whole experience.
Exactly. It includes the food, the time, the place, and the people. Have lunch can mean sitting together, talking, relaxing, and enjoying the moment.
That's why have fits so well in daily English. It connects the action with the experience, not just the physical act.
Let's look at a few very common examples. I usually have breakfast at home. We're having dinner with friends tonight. She had a quick snack before work.
All of these sentences feel very natural. Native speakers use them without thinking.
Now, let's compare this with eat and drink one more time. Eat and drink are not wrong. They're just more specific.
Yes, you might say the baby is eating or he drank too much water. Those sound fine. But in daily conversation, have is often the first choice.
So here's a very useful tip for you. When you talk about meals, coffee, tea, or snacks in everyday English, have usually sounds more natural than eat or drink.
Try using it in your own life. Say, I'm having lunch now, or I'll have coffee later. You'll sound more relaxed and confident.
And don't worry about making mistakes. The more you hear and use have this way, the more natural it will feel.
In the next part, we'll move beyond food and talk about how have is used with experiences, feelings, and even health.
This is where have becomes a real life word, not just a grammar word.
Now, let's move to one of the most important and interesting uses of the word have. This is where many learners suddenly feel, oh, now I get it.
Yes, because in this part, have is not about owning anything. It's about living, feeling, and experiencing life.
Let's start with experiences. We often use have to talk about moments in our life. For example, I had a great time last night.
Or we say, did you have fun at the party? Again, we're not holding fun in our hands. We're talking about an experience.
Exactly. You can also hear sentences like, I'm having a good day, or she's having a bad day. It describes what your life feels like right now.
And this is very natural English. Native speakers use have to talk about days, trips, weekends, and moments. For example, we had a great trip, or they had an amazing weekend.
So remember, when you talk about experiences, have is often the best choice. It sounds warm and natural.
Now, let's move to health, because this is another area where have is very important.
In English, when we talk about illness or health problems, we usually use have. For example, I have a headache, or she has a cold.
This can feel strange for some learners, because in many languages, people use be instead. So here's a very important comparison. I have a cold is not the same as I am cold.
Yes, I have a cold means you are sick, but I am cold just means the temperature is low and you need a jacket.
The same idea works with other health problems. We say, he has a fever, or I had a stomachache yesterday.
So for illness, remember this simple rule of feeling. If it's a health problem, English usually chooses have.
Now let's talk about inner feelings and thoughts, because have is also very common here.
Yes, for example, we say, I have a feeling something is wrong, or she has an idea for the project.
Again, we're not owning a feeling or an idea like an object, we're experiencing it in our mind. This is why have is such a powerful word. It connects you to what's happening inside you.
So when you talk about experiences, health, or inner feelings, have often sounds more natural than other verbs.
And don't worry if this feels new or strange at first. The more you hear it, the more normal it becomes.
In the next part, we'll show you how have is used with daily activities and responsibilities, and your English will sound even more natural.
This is where have really becomes part of everyday spoken English.
Now let's move to a very practical part of today's lesson. This is where English starts to sound really natural and very everyday, especially when we use have with daily activities.
Yes, this is something you hear all the time in real conversations. Native speakers often use have plus a noun instead of using many different verbs.
For example, at work, we say, I have a meeting at 10, not I meet at 10. Have a meeting sounds much more natural.
Exactly. And when you feel tired, you don't usually say, I will rest now. You say, let's have a break.
We also say things like, I had a shower this morning, or I'm going to have a chat with my friend later.
So instead of learning many verbs, English uses one simple verb, have, for many daily actions.
That's the logic here. One verb, many actions. It's simple, flexible, and easy to remember.
Think about your day. You have breakfast, have a meeting, have a break, have lunch, and maybe have a chat after work.
This is why have is such a life word. It helps you talk about what you do every day without thinking too much.
Now let's talk about another very common and important use of have. This one is about obligation, when you don't really have a choice.
Yes, we're talking about have to. For example, I have to work today, or she has to study for the test.
Have to means something is necessary. It's something you must do.
Many learners ask, is have to the same as must? And the answer is almost yes, but the feeling is different.
Must is correct, but it sounds more serious and more formal. In daily conversation, people usually say have to.
So in real life, you'll hear, I have to get up early tomorrow, much more often than I must get up early tomorrow.
Have to sounds friendly and natural, like everyday spoken English.
Now let's quickly talk about have got, because this is very common in spoken English.
Yes, have got means the same as have. For example, I've got a car means I have a car.
You can also ask questions like, have you got time? Which means, do you have time?
This sounds very casual and very natural, especially in conversation.
But here's a small warning. We don't usually use had got for possession in the past. We say, I had a car, not I had got a car.
So remember, have got is for the present, and it's just a spoken, relaxed way to say have.
When you put all of this together, you can see why have is everywhere in English.
It helps you talk about actions, responsibilities, and possessions in a very simple way.
In the final part, we'll practice everything together, review the key ideas, and help you use have with confidence.
You're almost there, and your English already sounds more natural than before.
Before we finish today's episode, let's take a few minutes to practice together. This is where listening turns into speaking, and English starts to feel real.
Yes, if you can, say the sentences out loud with us. Even if you're alone, it really helps your brain remember.
Let's start with food and drink. I'll go first. I'm having coffee right now. How about you?
I'm having lunch later, maybe something simple. Now your turn.
Say one sentence using have with food or drink.
Great. Now let's move to daily activities. For example, I'm going to have a meeting this afternoon.
And after work, I want to have a short break and maybe have a chat with a friend. Now you try. Say one activity using have.
Nice. Now let's talk about feelings. Today, I'm having a good day. I feel relaxed and calm.
Same here. I'm having a busy day, but it's a good kind of busy. Now think about your day and say one sentence with have.
Now let's quickly fix two very common mistakes we hear from learners. The first one is saying, I am headache.
Yes, that one is very common, but the correct sentence is, I have a headache. In English, illness usually goes with have.
The second mistake is saying, I have eat lunch.
The correct sentence is, I had lunch or I have lunch every day. Remember, have plus the activity, not have plus another verb.
All right, now let's quickly summarize everything we learned today. This is the big picture.
First, have does not only mean to own something. That meaning is correct, but it's just the beginning.
In real life, we use have to talk about eating and drinking, like have lunch or have coffee.
We also use have for experiences and feelings, like have fun, have a good day, or have a headache.
We use have with daily activities, like have a meeting, have a break, or have a shower.
And we use have to talk about obligation, when something is necessary.
So remember this, have is not just a grammar word, it's a real-life word that helps you talk about your day.
Now it's your turn. Write one simple sentence using have in the comments. It can be about food, work, or how you feel today.
If today's lesson was helpful, please like this video and subscribe to EasyTalk English. Your support helps us keep making real English content.
And remember, English is not about memorizing rules. English is about real life.
Thanks for learning with us today. Keep practicing a little every day, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone, and take care.